Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at a new case from our good friends over at Lian Li. This is the new Vector V100 or Vector V100W if you go for the white version. So yes, there's two versions available. There is a black one and also a white one, and also it comes with 4 included ARGB fans, which is excellent. 3 of which on the side are intake fans, so they are reverse bladed, and the one on the back is a traditional blade, so that is exhausting out of the back. Now this case has a lot of very cool features, one of the coolest being the price, which is unusual to say, especially in these weird and wonderful times we live in, but this case at the moment is very, very cheap for what it is. You're looking at just under £70, so £69.99 in the majority of places. And if you take into account things like the tariffs and all that kind of stuff, then I guess you would say this is like a £50-60 case, which for that sort of money is absolutely amazing value for money. It really is. I don't know if Lian Li have probably priced this up wrong. It seems to have a lot of stuff which you'd expect to see on a lot more expensive cases, but they've managed to do it for a very, very competitive price, which I like a lot. And in fact, I like this case so much that I'm very likely to transfer my PC into this and have this as my daily driver. Even though I've got various other options, including Lian Li's own 207 digital, which I'm currently using, I think I like this better, and this is cheaper, which is unusual. Anyway, so on today's video, we can go through, do a tour of the case, tear it all apart so you can see what it's all about, talk about some of the pros and cons. The cons, really, there aren't many. Nothing really to write home about. Most of it is all positive praise, so happy days with that. Then obviously, once we've done that, we'll come back at the end and then you can work out whether or not this is going to be suitable for your next build. And to be honest with you, I think it probably is. So let's start off first of all with the design. So the design language of this is pretty much the kind of fish tank style case. So you've got 270 degrees of vision. So the front panel is glass, as you can see, which is a slightly tinted on the black version. On the white version, completely clear. You've got 2 pieces of glass, so one on the front, one on the side, or side front, whichever way you want to look at it. So you've got that really nice kind of wraparound look, which I like a lot. There is a very nice join between the glass, so it doesn't look like there's any obvious gaps or anything, so they've done that particularly well, and it doesn't appear to be beveled or anything, so just very well machined. The whole case itself is actually very structurally sound. Even when you take the glass out and put a bit of pressure on the top, it's still absolutely fine. So don't think because it's a slightly cheaper case that it's cheaper build quality, because it really isn't. It's absolutely really well made. So fish tank style case, like I said, we've got the included fans in there, so intake on the side. Support for 360mm radiators in that top section, should you wish to put one in there, or you can put in 2 140s or just 3 120mm fans. Those choices are entirely up to you. The fans that are actually included are actually daisy chained as well. So even though there's 4 of them included, you'll only need 1 addressable RGB port on your motherboard and 1 fan header. So they're all daisy chained together, so that's excellent, and no need for any separate power either. It's just daisy chain fans straight into your motherboard, so that is absolutely brilliant. Also as well, for RGB lovers, there is also a integrated ARGB strip, which comprises of 26 individual LEDs, which runs along this front section in the top there. So if you've got your graphics card in there, it's going to kind of diffuse some of the light up towards your graphics card, which some people may like. Obviously, if you've got a particular color theme in mind, then it's going to illuminate all of that inside and also towards the front as well. So very nice spill of RGB lighting, which you're probably seeing from some B-roll. Also, something which is not often seen is the fact that you're probably actually wondering why there's a bobble head on the desk. And there's a good reason, because it can actually fit in the case. So they've actually put a little section in the front. So if you are somebody who likes showing off your figurines or maybe a car, I don't know, lightsaber, whatever you want to put there, there is actually a little section in the front where you can unscrew a little piece of plastic, take it out, and there is actually a dedicated stand for your accessories, which, yeah, I think is pretty cool. You don't have to use it. There is a sled over it. So yeah, it's hidden away. If you want to use it though, it is there, which I think is a nice little touch. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, so let's take this thing apart, and we'll start with the glass panel on the front side, or side, whichever you want to look at. And actually, before we do that, because of where the I/O is, we might as well take a look at that as well. So the side section, we've actually got our front I/O is a side I/O, which I actually quite like, especially where this PC is going to be on my desk. It's actually a little bit higher up. So this is the perfect position for me to plug in any of my accessories, and you can plug in multiple. So you've got 2 USB Type A's, those are USB 3.0, you've got USB Type C, You've also got a combo headset mic jack, a reset button, and also a power button. So that's really handy. They're going to be in a fantastic place. And I think in terms of kind of putting I/O in different places, putting it down here actually makes a lot of sense. And also when it comes to cable management, this actually makes it a lot easier because the majority of the connections here are going to be towards the bottom of your motherboard. So you've got less cables going kind of up and around. Whereas if you've got your top I/O, the more traditional style, then you've got all those wires kind of going all the way down through the rest of the system, then into the ports at the bottom. So yeah, in terms of cable management, actually makes that a little bit more simplified. So that is the front I/O, excellent stuff. We've got some nice little design language going on here. On the actual side, these are actually indented as well. So if you can see from the angles, I'll try and give you some decent angles. There is actually like an indent there. It's not just kind of like a sticker or something. It is actually slightly indented. So a little bit of a textured finish there. So to remove the glass, now you'll probably notice as well, the glass is an unusual shape. So it goes along here, along the PSU basement, and then drops down to meet up with this front panel, which again, I think is a very nice design choice. The glass itself actually kind of sits inside of the front panel. So rather than actually having the two kind of beveled edges meet together, it's kind of one against the other, which actually makes it easier and therefore easier and cheaper to produce. Anyway, to remove the glass, completely toolless. So get your finger inside the little ledge at the back there and pop it out. And it's on those kind of traditional pogo pins, which we see a lot these days. And you can see with the glass removed, we've got that unusual shape there, which you'd think would actually add more money to the design, but doesn't seem to have. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And again, it's got a very, very light smoke tint to it. So with that out of the way, we can see what is going on. But for me, I want to see a little bit closer. So let's take this front panel off as well. So the front panel, again, same sort of deal. Just pull that out from the side there. There's little legs at the bottom, which go into plastic recesses there. And then you can put that to one side. And again, this gives you much, much better access inside. So when you're thinking about doing your build, or you're doing some maintenance, or you're just kind of looking at your fans or whatever it is you're doing, gives you a nice access to the system in general. And also, like I said, there is very, very little flex. It's very strongly made, even though it's a relatively inexpensive case, comparatively speaking, of course. Yeah, it's all been built very, very nicely. So motherboard compatibility wise, this will take up to E80X, which I know is a weird standard, but do look on the Lian Li website and you can see all the details there. They've done quite a good thing, so the motherboard can actually overhang quite a lot because the recesses for the cable management are actually quite deep and also on a kind of right angle almost. So you can come right over should you need to if the motherboard extends further over. But ATX support, micro ATX, ITX if you really wanted to. And also the center lug for the actual motherboard supports is also a locating lug as well. I really like to see those. So you know your motherboard is in there nice and firmly. Got loads and loads of punch throughs for the back to front or Project Zero style motherboards. So if you're using one of those, you've got punch outs all around for both the micro ATX versions and also what appears to be the ATX as well. ATX definitely, micro ATX possibly not so much, but ATX definitely. It's always a little bit difficult with micro ATX because of where the punch outs are, but it does appear that they are there. So yeah, I think you're going to be absolutely fine with those. Again, check with your motherboard vendor to see where the pins and stuff are, so you can make sure that it's going to fit. Also, you've got pass-throughs at the top as well for your EPS and also for fan cables, that kind of stuff. And at the bottom, Lian Li always do a very good job of this. So 3 large holes at the bottom for passing through things like your front panel USB connections, fan connections, front I/O connections, all that kind of stuff. So that's absolutely great. And also this can take up to 9 fans. So 3 in the top, 3 in the side, 1 at the back. And also you can put an additional 2 actually on top of this open vented grill section for the power supply basement. Now whether you wanted to do that or not, this is entirely up to you. If you want to get a bit more air into your graphics card, potentially you could do that. Yeah, the option is there. In the accessories box, which comes included, typical Lian Li fashion, there are some longer screws to enable you to attach the fans to this basement section. So yeah, that's all good. When it comes to the fans themselves, which are included in the price, so these are 120mm fans, getting 3 reverse blade there, 1 normal blade at the back. These are PWM and ARGB. They will also go up to 1800 RPM and lowest spin speeds of around about 800. And I did some testing a little bit earlier with MSI Center to get the RPMs and also work out noise. At the lowest settings, basically inaudible. Anywhere up to around about 1200 RPM, basically you don't know they're on. As you get over 1200 RPM and start racing up a little bit more, They are audible, but certainly they're not horrible. And to be honest with you, if your system's getting hot enough so they need to spin that fast, then you're probably gonna find your graphics card or your CPU cooler is probably gonna be louder anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I think for most people, if you just set the fans at a static speed of maybe 1000 or 1200 RPM, you're going to be absolutely fine, and they are going to remain very quiet. And actually, they surprisingly move a lot of air. Now, I haven't got any exact specifications on how much air they move, but just filming the B-roll with the fans running there and me sat behind the camera, I could feel the air, and that's a good 5-6 foot away. So yeah, they are seeming to move a reasonable amount of air. So all well and good there. If we take a look at the front section again, so you've got the Lian Li badge on the front, you've got this little plastic section which is removable, so just a normal crosshead screwdriver, undo that, and you can undo the screw which is in here, which I've already done as B-roll, so I may well just show you that instead. So take the screw out, then you can lift the plastic out, and then you can grab your bobble head and put it in position. And there you go, you're done. So yeah, it's nice that there is that little addition, should you want to use it. Again, you don't have to. You can just leave that out or leave that out should you wish to. That choice is pretty much up to you. It's pretty easy to do, and I think it's nice that they've given you the options so that you can do that sort of thing if you want to. I know the PC manufacturing business and all the manufacturers are looking for kind of new, weird and wonderful ways of making the cases just a little bit different from the rest. And I think, again, for the money, they've done it very well and executed it very nicely. No kind of loose bits or wobbly bits. It's all very well made. While we're in this section, we'll take a look. Also, you've got PCI Express brackets, all of which are individual, which is always good to see at this sort of price point. And if you want to, it will support vertical mounting because there's no brackets in between. You will have to provide your own vertical mounting hardware. Lian Li do their own kind of semi-universal one, which will fit in this case. Other brands do as well, but the choice is entirely up to you. As with most things, vertical GPU mounting, yes, it kind of looks cool, but in general, it doesn't actually improve much of the performance. If anything, it can actually hinder performance in some instances. So although it looks good, I would be kind of tempted to steer away from it for the extra cost and potentially less performance. Also on the top section, so the top section, if you wanted to put a radiator in here, again 360mm rad will fit up top. There's about 45mm of gap between the top of your motherboard and also where your AIO is going to be, and it's also offset as well. So getting to the connections at the top, like EPS, fan connections at the top of your motherboard, that sort of stuff, isn't going to be as easy as it could be. I'd have liked to have seen maybe another 10mm just to give a bit more space, but certainly it's better than a lot of the cases I've seen recently. And actually, I think it's probably about the same as my Series 500 behind me, and that is generally absolutely fine because you've got that nice recess, so you can still kind of get to your cables. The rear fan, you've got a little bit of adjustment on there, up and down, around about 30mm, up and down if you wanted to. It's currently mounted towards the top. And all of the back section, like pretty much everything, is all hexagonal mesh. They've done that pretty much everywhere, other than on the back side, which was a little bit difficult to do. But other than that, yeah, it's very good indeed. So switching around to the back of the case, traditional ATX power supply section here. No problems there. You also got a very nice and easy to remove filter, nice decent size one as well. And also little attention to detail, the ledge on the end of here, making it so that even if you're not the most dexterous person in the world, you can still put it in and out because it does overhang a little bit. So nice and easy to get to. I do like that. The fact that it's at the back makes it a little bit harder to get to, but little touches like that little ledge, do make it considerably easier. Like I said, removable PCI Express brackets, hexagonal mesh, lots of airflow through the 120mm fan. And yeah, that is kind of it for that section. If we take a look at the back, so you can see obviously those fans on the side are for intake, so they are pulling in through. This is your mesh filter, nice fine mesh, and also a little bit more airflow coming in from the sides there. So if you are thinking about putting fans on the basement to keep your GPU a bit cooler, then it's going to pull cool air in through there, which is nice, and it's going to be somewhat filtered as well. Not as filtered as it would be with a nylon mesh filter, but certainly in other Lian Li cases recently with the same sort of porous technology or porous nature, they've been really good and not pulled in a great deal of dust, but moved quite a bit of air. So that's really good. Taking the side panel off, again, same sort of deal, toolless. So just get your finger in behind the ledge at the back, pop it outward, and pretty decent panel. Even though there's an absolute ton of perforations in there, it still has some rigidity. And that takes us into the back of the case. So again, obviously, because we've got all these punch outs, there's loads of places to put cables through. There's also lots of punch outs in terms of cable management. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's loads of them all dotted around. Also includes these Velcro straps as well. So you've got those in 4 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So nice and easy for cable management. Nice bit of depth there as well, about 1 inch of depth, which is pretty good. You've also got the removable drive cage here, so 2.5 inch drive can fit on there. You can put a 3.5 inch drive in the basement section underneath the fans there, so just one of each unfortunately on those, so one 3.5 and one 2.5. The 2.5 won't fit on the bottom, but if you wanted to, if it's an SSD, then you could just use some mounting tape or some Velcro. It would fit in there, no problems at all, but there's no physical mounting as such to hold a smaller drive in that particular location. Loads of room in the basement section, so power supply wise, pretty much any power supply is going to fit in there absolutely fine. Also, talking of that kind of thing, in terms of your CPU coolers up to 178 millimeters, I think they said it was, which makes sense because on the back you can actually put a 140mm fan in if you wanted to. If you wanted to replace the 120, which I would probably not advise doing because it's kind of pointless, but you can put a 140 in the back should you wish to. When it comes to graphics cards, up to 420 millimeters in length, so that's gigantic. I don't think I know of a card which is that long, but you never know, you might find one in the coming years, months, etc. Yeah, pretty good all over. When it comes to connectivity, so pretty decent cable set. So you've got your USB type A's, 2 cables into that plug, so 2 ports. You've also got your HD audio, a little bit of ketchup and mustard on there, but not too bad. You've also got your front panel block connector. Now, because this has got more than one connection, it's great because you've got the reset button and the power button, no power button LED and no hard drive activity LED, which seems to be a very reoccurring theme these days. And also, of course, you've got your USB type C. That they say is USB 3.1 type C, so that's going to be 5 gigabit per second. So not the fastest of ports, but it's USB-C, so there is that to it, I guess. When it comes to connecting up the fans, now this is the only slight downside that I can really see from this case. It's not a downside if you're planning on keeping it as is. So the fans that are included are daisy chainable, but they are using a proprietary connector. So that all goes through. Also as well, the RGB at the front of the case is a normal 5 volt 3-pin addressable RGB, so that's no problem at all. If I unplug this one, you can see there's this kind of 8-pin section from Lian Li, and I've actually put the cable down through this cable management channel. So you've got these little plastic lugs here for cable management, so that goes up to the fan. So there's only one cable per fan, and the 3 on the side are all block connected together, so that's absolutely fine. And they just go into this connector, so that passes through, goes through all the cabling, back into the fans, etc., and then it comes out with a 4-pin PWM, so standard PWM, so that'll go to one of the ports on your motherboard. There's also a little pass-through for the front connector, so the actual RGB for the front panel goes through to the front, goes into this block connector, and then you plug in all of that into a single header onto your motherboard or into another controller if you wanted to. So it's a little bit messy, but yeah, absolutely fine. Does the job it's intended to do and limits cable management, so you've only got one cable to go into one. It's a shame that the fans can't be used in other instances, so because of the block connectors on there and the fact that they're very short connectors, they literally can only go in one place in the case, and if you wanted to put them into another case, you'd realistically have to take the other fan as well. So think of the fans as being a kit, a standalone kit, so they will work fantastically in here and they look really nice as well, and they move a lot of air. So I don't think there's any real reason why you would actually want to change them out, but just bear in mind that they aren't your standard kind of dual cable, 3-pin RGB, 4-pin PWM, and being individual. They are effectively a kind of a modular block, if that makes sense. Anyway, with the cables out of the way, you can see underneath there's a nice bit of rubber there to support your power supply, to bring it up off the deck a little bit, which actually is a good idea because Lian Li have got the thing again with these plastic feet on cases. They've got the little slimline feet again, so it is actually quite low to the deck. So getting air in from underneath is potentially going to be a little bit problematic, but they have raised it up a bit, so that effectively internally makes it the same height as it would be in a normal case. So other than the fans being somewhat of a kind of modular design and the feet being a little bit on the small side, everything here is pretty much perfect. And I suppose I should say as well, if you're a little bit concerned about your power supply being face down and not pulling in as much air as you would like it to, two options: raise the feet a little bit, or alternatively you can mount the power supply in upside down. I did that in my 207 digital and it's completely changed the performance of it. It was great. It was a little bit noisy in my power supply with it being low down, turned it up the other way and it's absolutely brilliant. So I would strongly recommend in this, actually do put your power supply in upside down, so fan facing up. It's going to get in a lot more air that way, and also it kind of acts as a nice exhaust as well, so when the fan is running it's going to pull hot air out of the system also. So yeah, that's all pretty good. If we take a look at the top section, so in the top section you've got this top panel. Now the top panel is in its entirety plastic, which makes the case a little bit lighter, and also I'm guessing is going to reduce some of the production costs, but it still goes together very nicely. So you remove that off, all on kind of pogo pins, and you've got that really nice fine nylon mesh, so more for stopping dust getting into the case rather than stopping it going the other way. Yeah, filters on the tops of cases are always a bit of a weird one to me, but anyway, depending on which way you mount your fans, it's kind of pointless having one, but it does look quite nice. It's got a nice design there, so I quite like that. Also, when we got this open, you can see you've got the mounting options there for 3 120mm fans or your 360mm radiator. You could also do a 280 setup if you want to, and also 2 140mm fans. 280mm radiator might be a little bit on the close side for some of your connections on your motherboard. Again, do some measurements before you buy it. Some of them are going to be slimmer than others. But yeah, top section's fine, and actually putting the top back on is actually pretty nice experience. So because it's kind of plastic and it just fits on the top, just on those little pogo pins, once you get it lined up, it's actually quite nice. It's kind of a rhythmic thing. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 6 connections, holds it in place, and it's just, yeah, it's quite nice and reassuring. So even though it is a plastic frame or a plastic unit itself, actually putting it on is quite, I don't know, quite enjoyable. I quite like the way it all snaps into position, it just locks in. It's really, really nice. So last of all, let's take a look at the bottom section. So bottom section is not going to be any real surprises. So you've got mounting screw holes there for the hard disk drive, 3.5 inch. You've got that section there which pulls out for the fan on your power supply, or stop dust getting in. Again, I would probably put the power supply the other way up, but that is entirely up to you. I think overall it's a very, very nice case. I like the fish tank design cases. I always have done. There's something about them, I don't know, it's just the fans on the side. It's just, yeah, I'm into RGB, as some of you will probably know, so I really do enjoy that kind of look, and generally with my graphics cards not being particularly expensive ones, coming up to kind of over here so you don't block the fans off too much. I think it's just a really nice design, and the fact they've got that additional ARGB strip along that front there, just to let a little bit more light kind of bleed up towards the front of the case. Again, if you're into RGB lighting, you're going to really appreciate that. Of course, if you don't like it, you can just turn it off or just don't connect it. The choice is entirely up to you, but overall I think this is an exceptional case. It's been very well thought out, and again, for the price that it is in the times we're in, this is incredible value for money. $69.99 is the MSRP, and no doubt there are going to be some places which will have this on sale, which even if it comes down to like 64 or maybe even £60, this is an absolutely incredible case, and it has got the kind of almost legendary Lian Li build quality, so you can't really go too far wrong. But that is my opinion on it. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments section below. I think that's going to wrap this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, smash the like button. If you want to see more content on this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe and also that chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.